UConn versus Michigan faced off Monday night in the national championship game, and Michigan came out on top. All hail to the victors, go blue, whatever you want to say. Fairly ugly game offensively from both teams. I mean, just look at the score, 69-63. Not exactly fireworks. Both teams defended pretty well. Just some limitations on both teams' kind of exterior to talent in terms of like Yaxel was hurt, and it really showed as he just like couldn't get downhill with any sort of force and impose his will like he normally does. Michigan, while they struggled offensively, were really good about getting UConn in foul trouble, so UConn had to rotate guys in and out, sit guys more than they wanted. The backup point guard had to play more than you would want, and that hurt them. And then like shots just weren't falling. So just kind of a combination of all those things led to this low-scoring game. UConn fought back with great sets from Dan Hurley to get shooters open. Mullins hit a couple big ones. Caravan hit a couple big ones. And so, like, even in an ugly game, like, that's something that was a joy to watch right there, is just kind of seeing the best college basketball coach right now do his thing and kind of drag his team out of the mud offensively. And they also had 22 offensive rebounds, which is another way to combat struggling to score, second chance opportunities, kick out to an open shooter, just like all of a sudden there's an easy layup. And also, I think some of those rebound opportunities really was because of Yaxel. Like, he struggled to be quick to box out and get on his guy. So whoever he was guarding kind of skirt around and grab the board, among other things.
Did y'all think that he looked like watching the game Saturday night? I was terrified. I felt like he was not. He was above, like, I'd say like 80%. Like, he wasn't terrible on Monday.
He
played
better.
well, but he didn't like. When I say terrible, he didn't look.
He could actually run up the court.
Correct.
Kind of.
Correct.
He definitely looked better, but then like I said, like anytime he needed to really like make a move with power or like explode through somebody or past somebody, it just wasn't there.
Which is the best part of his game.
Correct.
He just didn't have that element.
And then
whatsoever.
I think a lot of that really isn't, maybe it was hurting a ton, but like it just is trust of like, I can't trust this leg that I know is currently hurt. And so that really affected them. And then offensively for Michigan, the way they fought back through kind of the slog and the bad shooting is, like I said, they got UConn in foul trouble.
Yep.
Which meant that UConn had sit their guys, but also meant Michigan shot 28 free throws, and they made 25 of them, which is fantastic numbers, especially for a college team. And they were on pace for even better, and then I think it was Roddy Gale missed 2 in a row late in the game. And then also they fought back with Elliot Cadeau was honestly pretty good in what they needed from him, which is funny because we dogged him in the Final Four preview. He ends up winning, MVP of the Final Four, and it was deserved because with the Yaxel injury, no LJ Kaysen because of the previous ACL injury earlier in the season, he was the only person for Michigan that really played with initiative and like played with intent and wasn't scared to like try and go make something happen. And they simply needed that. Like when he picked up 2 fouls and had to go out of the game, their offense really stalled because no one else could initiate any sort of offense. No one could get the ball to Mara, stuff like that. But that's kind of what I saw generally from the game. Like I said, big win for Michigan. Really well done by Dusty May. I'm a big fan of his. He doesn't take himself too seriously. He's really good at what he does. So yeah, I'm a fan. But what were y'all thoughts on the game?
I got to the first one being the toughness from Yaxel.
Sure.
The leadership to understand that like even him at 80%, his presence for that team, his leadership at his 36 years of age, was going to help carry his team. Like, even if he couldn't score to the degree that he had been able to throughout the tournament, him just being out there made a huge difference. It's not like the kind of impact that, like, a quarterback in the NFL would be, but I would kind of show it to, like, Mahomes going out there. Here I am, Chris Collinsworth, be like.
Now here's a guy.
Mahomes going out there and having all sorts of injuries, but having Mahomes at 75% is better than having Carson Wentz or Gardner Minshew or Chad Henne or whoever their backup quarterback ends up being. This year's going to be Justin Fields, apparently. But Yaxel being out there, his toughness, he plays 36 minutes, which is just second to Alex Caravan, who played every single minute of the game, all 40. Extreme toughness from him. And then, like you said, the free throws are a huge part of the game. it always brings me back to what my freshman and my JV basketball coach harped on so much. And it really is the key to basketball, and it's the fundamentals. And it is layups and free throws. You miss layups, you miss easy baskets, you leave points on the floor. You miss free throws, it's literally, I always used to tell my teammates that were bad free throw shooters, it's literally in the effing name. Free throws. They're free. You should not be missing them. Michigan going 25 for 28 while only making 2 threes. Just 2 threes made, like, that's the difference in the game. That's a huge difference in the game, and their ability to get UConn in foul trouble and then knock down the free throws was, I thought, the reason they ended up taking this victory. Because I do feel like shots were, it's kind of just the NCAA tournament in a sense. While Michigan had scored 90-plus in every game prior, like, eventually, people are going to miss shots, and a bunch of shots are going to be missed, and, what the team is going to have to shoot on the left rim, which was a running joke this past weekend. Getting to the free throw line and getting free points was, I thought, the key to victory for Michigan.
I don't disagree. Anything you want to add, Sanders?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that you were talking about free throws, and you also said layup. So you didn't talk about the layup, but when I think about the layup of the game, it's a missed layup. And I'm trying to be sure I have the exact, 2 minutes left in the second half. It's 62-56. UConn gets a steal and then a fast break layup opportunity, and they can't finish. And one pass, three-pointer, and it's 65-56 instead of 58-62. Yeah. Michigan now has all the momentum with a minute 50 left after UConn had been chipping away, trying to make it a game. They'd made it a game. I believe at that point they had scored multiple three-pointers, not in a row, but they had chipped away. And that was kind of the dagger. I think if that layup goes in, UConn's got a really good chance of winning because the momentum had just been building and building and building.
4 points to them in the final 2 minutes is nothing.
Exactly. And so that's a huge 5-point swing that, I mean, obvious, like, the game, I hate the phrase, like, oh, that was game, but, like, that was unfortunately just a really...
It was a huge moment.
It was a missed opportunity.
You could say it's the turning point in the game.
Yeah, it was the turning point. It was the turning point in the game. And as someone who was rooting for UConn, that was pretty tough to see. It was just like, I felt like UConn had to work so hard for every single point they got.
Yep.
And Michigan did too, because UConn is a fantastic team. I'm not trying to short Michigan, but the amount of effort that UConn was having to put out just to get baskets, to get jump shots, to get open threes, the Michigan defense was just stifling.
It's the benefit of having 2 6'9" guys.
Yeah.
Oh, and those are guys that are actually 5 inches shorter than our 7'3" center.
Yep.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the state Christians team with DJ Jeffries and or Cameron Matthews and Tolu Smith.
Yeah. It was so the effort that you kind of had to put out was just it was just tough and hard to see that working out for them and them coming out on top of that. But still, like you were talking about it, the freshman from UConn, the Braylon Mullins, I believe.
Yeah.
It was the way, the physicality. I love the game. I'm not going to say I love the way the refs called it, but I did enjoy the physicality and the bodies flying. I think that at times it did get too physical and the refs let players get away with too much under the rim. But it felt like every single one of those players was willing to, like, dive for every ball.
They're going for everything,
and use elbows if they could sneak one in. Like, it was such a fun game to watch. I'm very, very happy. We talked about it in the preview. I think I said that because of how the NCAA tournament has become, where teams feel like they've kind of, glided through the first couple rounds and we see less Cinderella runs, that if we don't have great Final Four games, then it's just not worth it. And I think the championship absolutely lived up to that. I was very, very pleased with how that played out. And then, I mean, the Saturday games didn't live up to it as much, but that's not we're gonna talk about those really. But the championship, absolutely, it felt like a very high stakes game. which it should.
Yeah,
They did a great job of that.
They knew what was on the line. And the last thing I really have is just shout out. I want to give a shout out to Ade Mara, and he was phenomenal in the Final Four game. And then wasn't as good offensively against UConn, but really shut down Terrace Reed down low when he was in the game, and that was one of UConn's primary sources of offensive output and scoring output in the tournament. And he was just too big for Terrace Reed to move and too tall for Terrace Reed to shoot over, and so it was kind of a lost cause. And being able to play one-on-one against Terrace Reed really allowed the rest of the guys to do what they did and switch everything out wide and shut down that UConn offense. So he was a huge key of that, even if he didn't necessarily have the best offensive day. But I think he's someone that's going to rise up draft boards.
Yeah, a lot of storylines coming out of that. The Terrace Reed storyline of he played for Michigan and UConn for 4 years, and in those 4 years, those teams won the championship 3 times, and he didn't win any of them, which is kind of a funny story coming out of that. The Michigan story of they bought the championship, and they just went and got the best players out of the portal. That's what some people are saying. Have you not have you not seen that? Some people think that.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
have you seen it?
I have, but it's mainly from haters.
It is from haters, but
which is simply what they're doing. You're just hating because it's the nature of the sport now.
Correct.
But
correct.
it has been a narrative that's been out there, and also I'd just like to congratulate the Michigan team once again because they had a phenomenal season. They had a great tournament run. They were largely dominant. And so, for example, Nick Wright, first thing he does, gets on his show after and says, he's not going to remember this Michigan team. And, he just, the last memorable
was Villanova, North Carolina.
Was memorable title winner besides the back-to-back UConn teams was, Villanova. And it's all right, bro. Literally less than 24 hours.
Just say you didn't watch a single game until March.
Correct. Yeah, say
that's
you're not
exactly
a college basketball guy.
That's exactly what he's saying. Because if you didn't watch the regular season, which I didn't watch a whole lot of Michigan, I watched a lot of SEC basketball. But
even you knew, we were headed towards this Michigan team is an all-time unit.
But if all you watched was March Madness, then Michigan didn't have a moment. Even UConn had more moments.
We got robbed of one man.
Who did?
Well, just Yaxel was on a tear through the whole tournament, and I think if he doesn't get hurt, he caps off an extremely dominant single-player run in March Madness.
Yeah.
And so it does kind of feel like we missed out on that. That's honestly the thing I missed the most because he had been so good. He knew what was on the line. He had put more on his plate as the leader of that Michigan team, and so he just didn't get to finish it out 100%, which is tough.